Thanks, Judy, for that. I appreciate it. So, as I said at the beginning of this is the Pure Potential Room. And what I love talking about is really understand how we can actually create what it is that we say that we want, not what we think we are capable of or what other people tell us we're capable of, but what we truly want, that thing that is just yearning inside of us, that thing that is kind of calling us forward, but yet for some reason we can tend to block it. And sometimes we don't even know that we're blocking it. We all have unlimited potential. We know that. We come into this world with the same amount of potential, each and every one of us. We're all created from the same source. We may have very different lives and experiences growing up that have contributed to who we are, but at the very core of every human is the ability to create a life they desire. That is our soul's purpose. Our soul is here and designed to evolve. But oftentimes we tend to hold back and we may not even know that we're doing this. But yet we also can look outside of ourselves and see other people that perhaps we have witnessed, been able to change the circumstances, the environment, or the pattern of behavior, the things that have been happening for them. We know it because we've seen people do it. We've probably heard the stories of like J.K. Rowling, or Rowling as she corrects people, on government assistance, single mom, just out of an abusive marriage, and she billionaire author with her Harry Potter series. Or people like Lisa Nichols, once on welfare, struggling to get diapers for her son, now a multi-million-dollar powerhouse business owner. Ayanna Vancent, you've probably heard of the TV show Ayanna Fix My Life, in a violently abusive relationship, struggling for years. But yet now she's got numerous books and a TV show. The list goes on. Halle Berry, Shania Twain, Susie Orman, the financial guru. All of these people were at one point homeless, living in public shelters. And several had been in abusive relationships. So they've changed their lives. And we know it's possible to change a life. But why then do so many people continue to struggle or remain stuck in the same situation year after year? Despite setting the goals, writing the intentions, maybe doing the vision boards or the affirmations. Why is that? Because our unconscious beliefs cripple us. Our human nature is to only invest our energy into that which we believe will produce the outcome we seek. Now, the key here is believing it, because think about this. You don't put your efforts towards something unless you think you're going to get some kind of return on the investment, whether that investment is money, time, or energy. So when we believe something is not going to work out, even unconsciously, and most often, more often than not, it is an unconscious belief. We may try and convince ourselves outwardly that, oh, it's going to work out. I can do this. I can reach that 300,000 this year. But if our internal script, which is really running the show, is saying, oh, sorry, nope, that's not in your realm of experience. You don't know that level of success. Sorry, you've only made 60,000 a year. What makes you think you can stretch into 300,000 a year? You're not a match for that. I know it's what you want. I know you want that level of success, or whatever it may be, the unconditional loving relationship. But your internal script is saying, you're not that person. I can't relate to that. I don't have a reference point, and I haven't been programmed for that. Now, remember, our subconscious mind is designed for what we automate, not necessarily for what we want. So all of this is happening unconsciously. And what happens then? We sabotage our potential. And it can be so subtle because our minds are tricky. Our minds are designed to protect us. So the sabotage starts to show up in many different disguises. It could be just taking half-hearted action. It could be perfectionism, or its cousin, really, procrastination, because they're really two sides. Perfectionism, procrastination, they're just two sides of the same coin. Maybe for you, it's disguised as logic, trying to justify why perhaps you cannot do something at that particular moment. And trust me, we can be very good at justifying, coming up with these reasons. Maybe it's, I can't take action right now because I just don't have the time. I'm so busy. I've got the kids at home. Maybe when they get a little bit older, when my youngest goes to college, then I'll have the time. Or when I have the money, then I can start to save, or then I can start to invest. Or when I get the certification. The list can go on and on and on. Listen, I think the certification or the credential one is the one that I hear. When I get credentialed, when I get the schooling, when I get the skills, then I validation that we can go on to do something. And I understand, I'm not saying that it's not necessary to get certain credentials or licenses, but what kind of action can you start to take right now? I was thinking about this the other day when I was talking to a friend of mine who's in interior design. I actually have 3 friends who are interior designers. But this one particular person built her business solely on referrals. And to this day, she still does not have any formal training in interior design. She has no certification. She just has an incredible eye for design. And her business is absolutely booming. And it has been booming for a long time, well before her other friends, the other 2 women that I know that are in interior design, well before they even got their license. They were still in school, and yet she was building her business. Now, she at one point says that she will go and probably get her not her real estate license, but her formal training in interior design. But right now, she just started taking action, and that led to more and more. But listen, it might surprise people to know I own a production company, an event production company. I'm not a certified meeting planner, yet I own a live event production company. And sometimes people go, "What, really? You don't have that credential yet behind you?" No, we produce big celebrity events, red carpet events. And this past weekend, we just produced an event that was featured on Entertainment Tonight, Hollywood Reporter, ABC, NBC, tons of media coverage. It's only because I started taking that action and I started getting the referrals. Why? Because I had an eye for this, and I had the desire to do it, and I also had the contacts that could help me create this. So I'm saying that it's not that you don't need to get those licenses or credentials, but you don't need to let it stop you now. You simply need to look at it and say, wow, how can I take action right now in this moment from where you are? Even if that action is tiny, it doesn't matter, because action will always be rewarded. Faith is always rewarded. Always just leads to lousy results, and lousy results equal uncertainty. It leads to lack of confidence, low self-esteem, disheartened beliefs. It's just this vicious cycle that it only ends when we make the decision to end it, when we make a decision that enough is enough and that it's time to change that pattern. Have you? I was working with somebody the other day, and she was saying to me that I'm so fed up of trying to get my business up and running. I have looked around and I see all these people coming online, and it's like they've been only at it for, I don't know, a few months, and yet they've got all their systems set up, ready to go. They're starting to make money. How is that? Or have you even looked at like maybe a self-disciplined writer? Maybe you've been wanting to write a book and you look at somebody and you go, oh my gosh, they're writing so many books. They're so prolific. Or they've written their first book in 3 months and you're sitting here going, I can't even get my about page up. Why is it that some people just seem to get things done? Because the more resolved beliefs we have about achieving something, the greater our reason for taking action, the greater our why becomes. And that leads us to tap into more potential. And with greater potential comes greater action, because our belief becomes stronger. And remember, belief is the thing that's really running the show here, even if you don't realize it. So you have to boost that belief. You have to boost that belief so that you can take some sort of action. Greater actions yield greater results. Yes, absolutely, it's true. But you have to be able to step out first by taking, even if it's small action, just by taking that action, because then you're going to start to create a new cycle. Instead of that vicious cycle where you get disheartened, you put off things, you become a perfectionist, or you're just getting into the busy work, or you're finding these excuses and you're saying, oh, I'll be that when I have this so I can do those things. Instead, you want to create a new cycle. You want to create your own success cycle. And as soon as you get into action, momentum begins to take over. It begins to take over and you start to gain that clarity, and your confidence is boosted. They all actually work together. Momentum is a game changer. In order to build that momentum, though, remember, even if it's baby steps, we have to do something. And we have to be willing to let go of the busy work that may look productive, but it's something that we're really just kind of hiding behind. Is it hindering our success? Is it really moving the needle forward towards what we really want in our lives? Or are we hiding behind this mask of busyness? You have to get really honest with yourself here. And you have to ask yourself, is this something that's really keeping me focused and on track towards what I want? Or am I paying attention to underlying scripts that are really running the show in my life? You have to start creating a process or a structure for yourself that will keep you on track. Think about this. Everything in this world is built on processes. Even nature has a process it goes through in order to create. So have you ever thought about how fast you can actually accomplish something when you set a deadline for yourself? Do you remember being back in school and you would have a deadline in which you had to turn in your essay, your term paper, or the final exam? What happens? You focus, your mind focuses on that and you meet that deadline. That's because there's a sense of urgency that takes over, and urgency creates that momentum. But before you can even get into that action that produces the results rather than just that busy work, you have to know, where do I want to go? And you have to believe you can get there. And that's where the struggle is. The difference between someone who has an idea and someone who simply takes action, even if it's the little steps, is that belief. It's the underlying belief. And beliefs have the power to either create or they have the power to destroy. Because what is belief? Belief is just a certainty about what something means. So the challenge is that most of our beliefs were unconsciously created based on our past interpretations, past experiences. But the past doesn't dictate the present unless you want it to. Again, it's your choice, unless you continue to live there. So this means we have to kind of go back and let go of those past things. We can find experiences to back up almost any belief, whether we consider that belief to be good or bad. But the key is to make sure that we are consciously aware of the beliefs that we are creating. If your beliefs don't empower you, if you are not reaching your goals, if you get towards the end of the year and you go, oh my gosh, I've only achieved one thing on my vision board, what the heck? Or if each year you go back and you look at your vision boards and you go, I keep putting the same things on my vision boards because I haven't yet achieved them yet. Then you have to take a look at that and say, whoa, what's serving me here and what's maybe not serving me here? Where do I maybe need to make some changes here? Remember, those beliefs are just formed from the past experiences, or rather, our perceptions of those experiences. And those can lead to confidence or lack of confidence. They can lead to clarity or lack of clarity. They can lead to action or inaction. So in order to boost the belief and truly start tapping into the potential, we have to realize that our subconscious acts on our dominant thoughts. And it makes absolutely no distinction between what's real and what's imagined. This is the power of vision boards. But what happens is we put it on the vision board and we walk away from it. We have to get into that. We have to look at those visions and we have to say, wait, what does it feel like to actually be there and living into that? Because what we want to do is play in that field of imagination. We want to experience the emotion of what it feels like so that now we can start to take what's imagined in our mind and actually make it more real for us. Have you ever watched a child that's playing make-believe? Have you ever watched somebody have a tea? My youngest daughter used to do this all the time, have tea parties. And she would have her little stuffed animals sitting around in the chairs. But they were so real to her. She would be talking with them. She would be giving them sips of the tea. And I'm telling you, those little stuffed animals were alive. Like their mouths were moving. They were alive. They were sipping that tea. In her mind, they were. Pretty soon, what do you think happened? We got a real cat. What did we get after that? We got a real dog. Everything that she wanted just started coming. Now, I did draw the line at the bear. Absolutely. But we did start getting the animals because they became so real for her. So she's starting to create this environment. Well, it's the same thing for us as we go into what it is that we truly want. So it's putting ourselves in there in our minds first because our subconscious acts on that dominant thought. And again, it makes no distinction between what's real and what's imagined. It translates thought into reality, regardless of whether that thought is driven by fear or if it's driven by courage. This is why we want to get into the emotion of it. This is why emotions are so powerful and they're the driving force behind creation. You have to pay attention to that. Be powerful. It can be driven by fear or by courage, so you have to pay attention to what are those dominant thoughts. Where are you putting that attention? And this awareness is going to be the key to change. Because if they're not serving you, if these thoughts aren't serving you, you have a choice. You can either release them or you can rewrite them or you can hang on to them. We have the power to rewrite our story. We have that power, that choice to do so if we want to. It's entirely up to us because we have free will. So we can either rewrite it. We can do that through the actual act of writing it out as we desire our life to be. Look at the past and ask, is there another way, perhaps, of interpreting this event, this information, this experience, maybe that I've overlooked? Maybe from my perspective now, can I look back at that with fresh eyes in my adult body and say, oh, there's another way to maybe look at that than how I interpreted it as a young child. And then we can start to rewrite it. Have you ever had a dream where in your dream something's happening and it doesn't feel good? Maybe like you're being chased or something happens, you wake up and you're like, oh, it's a horrible dream. Oh, I don't like that. Well, you can go back. I've done this many times. I've gone back and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. So I'll go back in. And as you start to kind of go back to sleep, in your mind, you get into your imagination. You go, I'm going to re-change the way that that dream was going. I'm going to see myself, like if you're being chased. I've had this dream before, being chased. And it's like somebody's after you, usually after I've seen some kind of scary movie, right? But I'm being chased and someone's after me and I'm like, oh, I have to go down, I don't know, hide somewhere over here or kind of get out of their view. And I'm panicked. But if I wake up and I look back and I go, wait a minute, I'm going to change this. And I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to be the empowered person. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to face that fear. That's what that chasing is, right? I'm going to face that fear in right here and now in the moment and look at it from an empowered perspective. Well, it's the same thing. You can do this with your past experiences, and so that you're starting to change those beliefs and the habits that have been formed based on those past experiences. Why? Why do we do this? Because success happens from the inside out. All creation happens from the inside out. Never, ever from the outside in. Never from the outside in. All creation happens from the inside out. So you have to make a commitment to yourself to spend time in your imagination, see your life as you want it to be. So you look at the desired end result, and then you take yourself through a series of steps to get there. And you ask yourself, what do I need to do? What's my next step? How would it look and feel if I took that step? And then the second thing you have to do is that you actually have to take that action. You have to take the action on your idea. Remember, ideas are energetic in nature. Spirit. And if you don't take an action on them, they're going to bounce off of you and find somebody else who will. Because that's how spirit expresses itself. So you have to take action on your idea. And it could be baby steps at first. Maybe you sign up for a program. Maybe you make that call that you've been putting off, or you start the book, even if it's just the first 2 pages or an outline. Jack Canfield used to say, just commit to writing 1 page a day if you want to write a book. Commit to writing 1 page a day. Don't bother editing it, just write the page. Remember, action creates clarity and it builds momentum. When you're in your element, doing what you love to do, even if it's only in your mind initially, even if it's only in your mind initially, you begin to feel alive. You begin to feel connected to that vision. You begin to feel more empowered. It's the quickest way to start shifting out of a negative feeling, negative pattern, negative behavior, negative thoughts, negative words, and start to go inside and say, wait a minute, what would it look like if I was the J.K. Rowling? What if I wrote the Harry Potter series? What if I was the Lisa Nichols on that stage? Shift yourself into a different thought pattern, a different way of being. It's from this space that we start to gain some clarity. And we need clarity to create the structure that dictates our plan of action. And when we know just what steps to take and when, then it becomes a lot easier to move towards our vision with belief and confidence. That's when we can start to silence those inner fears. We can start to ditch that perfectionism and procrastination. It's where we start to gain more confidence and clarity because that whole path becomes much clearer. Momentum begins to take over. It helps us to feel much more powered and empowered. We start to create these new neural pathways for ourselves. We start to lay new groundwork. We go back and look at things and say, wait, maybe there's a different way to look at this with fresh eyes. How might I have been interpreting this differently, or how can I interpret this differently now that I'm an adult than maybe when I did when I was younger? And what was really going on? And is that the truth of that situation? And is this serving me? And if it's not serving you, okay, I don't like this anymore. I'm going to commit to myself right now today to take one little step forward, one baby step. Even if it's one baby step, making a phone call, writing that first page, whatever it may be that pertains to your business. But one baby step. It will help you become clearer. It will help you to gain more confidence because that momentum will begin to take over and you'll start to create your own success cycle, and helps you then to start feeling much more empowered and far more aligned with what your true purpose is. And that's how you start to get through those, bust really through those limiting beliefs and start to get on this track towards stepping into your true purpose and tapping into your full potential. That's exactly how all these other people that you look out at, when I mentioned them earlier, like Susie Orman and Halle Berry and Shania Twain, any of those people, Lisa Nichols, if you look at their biographies, if you just read a little bit about them, you start to see what they have to do. They had to commit to themselves to say, this, make the decision first, this is no longer serving me. I choose something different, and I'm going to take that first step right now. Even if it's a baby step, I'm going to take that first step right now, and I'm going to keep seeing it in my mind until I can finally physically see it and hold it in my hand. That's how you start to get past those beliefs and start stepping into and creating the life you desire. That's when you become the cause of your life rather than the effect of your life. So I would love to open this up to anyone that has any questions. I always like to open this up at the end to anybody that has any questions. I'm going to take a quick look in the chat. Rosie, yeah, action creates clarity. It's such a cycle, though, because so often, I used to get so caught up in this. I would say, if I was just really clear on this, I would know exactly. When I started the online publication, when I started an online publication for the hospitality industry, I was like, man, if I just knew exactly, wow, how would I do this? How would this lay out? I don't know how to really put this whole publication together. And then I thought, you know what? I don't know. I'll figure it out. I knew that I could at least start with something, but you can get so caught up in, I just need to have a really clear plan first before I take that action. But it's actually the other way around. And that's just part of those limiting beliefs. That's that perfectionism we hide behind. That's the procrastination. That's the busy work we hide behind, because we can put up all these different masks that can keep us safe. But if we can make ourselves stop for a moment, look at the patterns of behavior, take a look at how things have been progressing in our lives, look at the vision board. Are we on track or not? I mean, if we're not, then we have to that's a wake-up call. We have to look at that and say, whoops, I'm way off course here. I keep putting this vision on here. And you know what? It might be that that's not even what you truly want. It may be that you're actually going down the wrong path. I started building the wrong business in the beginning. It was a business that I thought, I really like this. I enjoy it. But man, I was spending so much effort and time into it, but it's not what I really wanted. I was doing it because it was making quite a bit of money. But I was like, hitting total burnout. Wasn't what I wanted to do, and started getting off track. What happens then? You start to sabotage. I've worked with so many salespeople in so many companies as a sales trainer years ago that would hit their goals one year and then they'd start to slowly sink back and they'd be like, I just need to get my mojo back. Oh my gosh, if I could just get that mojo back, I just need a break. I need to take a holiday. If I could just take a vacation. But then they'd come back from vacation, they'd be okay for 3 months and then they'd slip back into it. Why is that? They started self-sabotaging. You know why it is? Because it's not what they wanted to do. They were an entrepreneur at heart. They did not want to be building somebody else's business. So they would start to sabotage. So this is why awareness is so flipping key. And you have to pay attention to these things. It shows up. It shows up in patterns of behavior. It shows up where you're having recurring dreams. It shows up where you start getting the same type of clients or you start having the same conversations. If you pay attention, you'll get your answers and you will become very much aware of what your pattern of behavior is. Very much aware of what your pattern of behavior is. One of the things I always say every morning after I go through this journal program on my intentions and such, and then I always end it with, open my eyes to hear the things, to see the things you want me to see, and hear the things that you want me to hear today that will help me on my journey in this world and make an impact. And I started doing that several years ago because I realized that things were showing up for me, but I wasn't really. And then when I stopped one day and I looked back after work, somebody, I was like, whew, holy cow, that was so evident. How did I not see that? How did I not see that pattern? But if you don't recognize it, you can't make the steps to change it and create the action that's going to actually lead you towards your vision. I'm going to take another look in the chat. Oh, Jillian, hi. Any insight when you're in transition to reevaluate what it is you want when life is in transition and get in touch with new wants? It seems easy, but it's so hard. It does seem so easy. And I think one thing, because we can say, oh, I'm not quite sure, and I'm trying to make this transition or these changes. But I think, first of all, Jillian, reframe that, because right there you're stopping yourself and putting a block up. It seems easy, but it's so hard. Let's reframe that, right? If we can reframe that and say it gets to be easy. If it seems easy, then it gets to be easy. So it's starting with some journaling on that and reframing those words as well for yourself. And if you look at it and you evaluate what it is you want, then you have to be honest with yourself. We've talked about this before where it's like really getting to the core of it and saying, what is it that I truly want? Not what I'm capable of and what other people say that I'm really good at. What lights me up? We all have it. Like if you sit for it for a little bit, you'll feel it. It's kind of like, wow, if you can just sit and you envision yourself going through your daily activities, what does that look like for you? When you put your feet on the ground in the morning and you get out of bed, what are you doing? Where are you going? How do you walk through your day? I can tell you very clearly exactly what my day looks like. And now I've created a lot of that. But I didn't for a long time because I kept hiding behind other things that people said I was really good at. You are so good as a sales trainer. You are so good in creating projects and bringing them to fruition and such and helping other people with those things. But at the same time, I liked it, but I could feel that it was not really where my calling was. Like I could feel, it's almost like you feel this, like you're out of alignment. It's the only way I can kind of explain it, like physically out of alignment. Like I could feel almost as if I put my hand in my heart chakra, I could almost feel like it was off to the right a little bit when it needed to be over to the left. And I'm like, wait a minute, my heart's in the wrong part. It's not quite where it is. What are those words telling you? My heart's in the wrong space in my body. Hello. That was very clearly telling me that I was not on the right track. Now, I was doing something that was very lucrative, And I was coasting for a little bit because I was enjoying it. And I'm like, man, after struggling and having to provide for 4 kids, I was like, this is enjoyable. But at the same time, I could feel that shift and that pull to something else. And I had to get really, I would say, brutally honest with myself and say, when are you actually going to take a chance and go for what you truly want? And I had to do it in my mind first, always in mind first. I really had to get myself into that space so I could bolster my belief within myself. Les Brown always says, if you don't believe in yourself, lean on someone else's belief until yours kicks in. Okay, that's great. I do believe in that. That's why there's coaches are so important and valuable, because they can start to help pull out of you what you don't quite see in yourself. But at the same time, taking a moment to just sit and get silent and feel what you're feeling, and then go through what your ideal day would look like in your mind. If you have a desire for an ideal day, you have you have the ability to create that ideal day. You wouldn't have the desire without the ability within it. Reframe that language. It gets to be easy. It gets to be easy. Sometimes if we say, oh, it is easy, our mind will say, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. So it automatically puts up a block. But when we soften it with it gets to be, and each and every day I'm leaning more and more into what I truly love doing. Each and every day, with each action I take, I'm leaning more into trusting the process and leaning into what I truly love doing, where I'm meant to shine. Because why? Because it gets to be easy. Because life is easy.